So, to get us all into the present and the future, I want to just touch on a journey, share a journey that will sound familiar but with different aspects. So, there's a flip chart. I think I'll just use my hands. So, after 22 years with the Order Ecumenical ICA, working in Woburn Lawn and Kudu Iri and Kwangyang Ili and Caño Negro and India Homa and so on and so forth, I had a repository of experience of bottom-up development. I was working grassroots projects, hoping people would see them, take note, and policies would change. That through bottom-up development, through demonstrations and awakenment, that we would change the world in our lifetime. Sort of like the disciples waiting for the coming. That it was going to be swift, because those demonstrations would be irresistible, right? The band of 24, and they were, and I am proud and grateful to have been part of that journey, as you have, many of you have been. Part of a global secular religious experimental family order. When I tell people I was part of a global experimental secular religious ecumenical family order, they never ask me any questions. I do it. I just say it. And I don't apologize or explain. Or I just say, oh yes, and I was part of the order. And I'm with the UN. I said, oh okay. So, remember in 1988 we sent ourselves out to be part of the larger order, right? We said we dissolved the small order and we sent ourselves out to the larger order. And boy, have we been busy doing miracles, Millennium Consulting and books and PhDs and consulting in Africa and working in Africa and Eastern Europe and in NGOs here in America and talk training, and we've been busy since we sent ourselves out to be part of the larger order. And the ICA became one of many NGOs. Before it was an expression of a religious order's mission, and then it became one among many of many NGOs. Oh, by the way, one caveat. I'm telling you what I think. Of course you do that. You don't have to agree. You don't have to like it. You don't even have to listen.
What?
Let it wash over you, Jim. Let it wash over you. Don't pay attention. Jim's doing a crossword puzzle. So it's been 25 years since I was in Chicago last. And I want to... So after we dissolved the order, I stayed in Venezuela for a couple of years doing ICA-Associates Venezuela, and then turned over the ICA to the Venezuelans with a strong board, funding, in-kind office, track record projects, materials, staff. Said goodbye, I'm going back home, after 20 years overseas, home. So I ended up in New York and got into the Mega Cities Project at NYU through George Walters. And when we left Venezuela, I had 2 kids and a wife and $900 in the bank. And no fear. No fear. $900 in life savings. No fear. I went to New York City and said, if I can do it in New York, I can do it anywhere. So, no fear. I have fear now. But when I was 46, no fear. So, pardon?
As it should be.
As it should be. But now also, I'm working on no fear. Yes, I'm practicing no fear. Thank you. But as it should be. And also no job and no income and no no place to live, no job. No fear.
And no debt.
And no debt. And no credit card. Didn't even have a credit card. That was 1990. Okay, then I met somebody from the UN and went to see him, and he said, "Could you consult for us?" And 16 years later, I retired as the Principal Policy Advisor for Decentralization, Local Governance, Urban and Rural Development for the whole world. How did I do that?
Is that like saying you're part of the global section?
If you say it fast enough, nobody asks. So I did that, whatever it was worth, because of my credentials with the ICA. 22 years with the ICA prepared me to be a global policy advisor for the United Nations, as it's prepared you to do all that you've done the last 20 years. So in UNDP, the United Nations Development Program, I had always actually dreamed of being part of the UN. It was sort of something in me that remember in the daily office we used to pray for the UN. We didn't pray for the President of the United States, we prayed for the United Nations. And that wasn't the only reason I'd always wanted to be part of the UN, but it was... But I remember when I was asked to be a consultant, Mary and I went to the UN for a tour, because we should get an official tour. And we were walking through the building, and there on the wall it said, NGOs with consultative status with the UN Economic and Social Council, and it had lists of NGOs. And I was walking along, and I glanced at it, and I said, and there was Institute of Cultural Affairs International on the wall of the United Nations. And I said, I'm coming home. I'm here. I've already been here. We're part of the UN when we got UN consultative status, and you remember what year that was? And that meant a lot, that we're part of the global family, indeed. So in the UN, I launched global projects using ICA methods, a $20 million project in slums around the world, and a $100 million urban management program, and then brought in Gene Houston to do social artistry in countries around the world with Jan Sanders, and so it was fun, bringing top into the UN, bringing social artistry into the UN, bringing appreciative inquiry, bringing emotional intelligence into this bureaucracy, into this global body. And others were doing it too, and you did it where you were, and we were all doing what we've been trained to do and sent out to do wherever we were. I'm sort of accounting to you, and I will stop shortly, but I just wanted to be accountable. Briefly accountable. Okay. I called my wife last night and said, honey, give me the final advice on what to say tomorrow morning. And she said, remember, you're speaking to Buddhas. That everyone in this room is awake to the nature of reality as compassion and wisdom. Because that's the nature of being sentient, being conscious. Being a conscious being is to be awake, and to be awake, what do we know is love and truth. That's just the way it works. And you can use other language, and I don't care, other symbols, but that's what I believe, and that's what I see in this room. And so I want, if any time I'm ranting, as my wife sometimes says I rant, then please tell me, and I'll stop. Because I think we're having a conversation together. This is also a conversation, and we're thinking together, we're remembering together, we're dreaming together, and this is just a piece of that. We're here together breathing and thinking and hoping and in love with each other, and in love with planet Earth, and with all of life, and indeed the cosmos. Now that's my take on the state of you and me, for better or for worse, for richer, for poor, in sickness and in health.